Last month, we built a large wooden lip behind a row of shrubs, for use with my airbag lander. And as it turns out, we use this airbag jump a lot, basically anytime we can. But as the season wears on, the ground tends to stay mushy for days after it rains, and for hours after the morning freeze-thaw. Riding the airbag in the wet is like riding a slip and slide. So I've been thinking, it'd be nice to be able to bring this airbag someplace else when it's wet out. To do that, we need to build a portable lip, small and light enough to fit in the back of my Honda, with the airbag. That sounds easy enough, but this lip can only be so small and compact. The one we already have on Airbag Trail is dug into the ground for stability, and features hardwood planks for weather resistance and grip. It's very big and very heavy, so our portable lip will need a totally different design. For starters, I want to make this lip a step up, which means it'll be lower than the backside of the lander. I also want to use as tight a radius as I can get away with to keep the length of the jump down. If you've taken 6th grade geometry, you know that a radius is half the diameter of a circle. Our garage quarter pipe has a 6-foot radius and is only 4 feet tall. On paper, that looks like this. Our backyard airbag jump has a 10.5-foot radius and is about 6 feet tall. On paper, it would look like this. To make a jump small enough to fit in my pickup bed, I'm going with a 5-foot tall lip with a 9-foot radius. To draw that, I'm using the lines in my driveway as a grid to line up this sheet of plywood, then using a 9-foot length of string as a compass. On one of the sides, I marked an arrow showing the correct angle of the transition, so that we can use a level to get it oriented correctly. I want this lip to be 36 inches wide, so I'm subtracting the thickness of the plywood from that and cutting a bunch of beams to build the frame out of. Since I've never built a lip exactly like this, don't follow my blueprint. I fully expect to make changes to this frame and maybe even rebuild it someday entirely. But hopefully it'll be something we can transport and ride tomorrow. Quarter-inch plywood can bend a fair amount, but installing it wet helps prevent cracking. So I'll spray this down every so often for the next 30 minutes, and then get to bending it. Bending the plywood is always tricky business, so it's best to do it slow and methodically. Now that we've built our lip, it's time for a dry fit.
I don't think it fits in the truck.
Not quite ideal, but I've got an idea.
That's pretty neat.
To hold the lip together, we'll use these latches, which seemed like a good idea in the planning phases, but in actuality, look super jank.
Holy, this is like...
With the lip in 2 pieces, it fits quite nicely in my bed with room to spare, and it's more than light enough for 1 person to lift. But then, there's the airbag. This airbag weighs a lot. It actually arrived on a pallet. It took like 3 of us to roll this out. Like, how many people would normally set these up?
Man, somebody half my size would take this out in a truck, set it up, and they better be back in 2 hours.
Well, as it turns out, Kevin has professional experience in the dispatch, transport, and inflation of bouncy castles, which is essentially what this airbag lander is. That's actually pretty brilliant. By using the hand truck and blower as a sort of staircase, 1 person can load it into a pickup.
That's shut.
Oh my God!
Goes underneath. Over here. Bro, you underestimate cornbread fed.
Yep. This whole setup packs into my bed so nicely that it's actually not sketchy at all. In fact, nothing shifted at all during transport. And setting this up in Kevin's driveway took actually less time than setting it up at my house. At my house, we need to get the airbag and blower from the garage to the lip, which is more work than you would think. Here, we can unload everything on site. Time to see if these latches are as jank as they look. I'm gonna hit it faster.
So what'd you think about it, though? How would you describe it?
Step-ups are really fun. You can easily see the landing on approach, which is useful. And jumping a step-up is very smooth since you can catch the landing at a higher point in your trajectory.
Dude. Yep. Oh! Here we go. Yeah! Oh! Man, you're making it a little too smooth now.
Despite a few adjustments and a small learning curve, we were getting really comfortable on this lip. Maybe a little too comfortable.
There you go. Nice.
Dave, come on. You're fine. Dave!
So it turns out that Dave can backflip, and that meant the session had officially popped off.
Oh, dude.
That was my first backflip attempt outside of Highland Training Center, and I rotated way too slow. Looks like my flips need some calibration.
Dude!
With under an hour of daylight left, we were trying to get in as many runs as we could. But Paul had never ridden a wooden lip this size, let alone a double. He had some reservations about attempting it. Have you ever hit a wooden lip that big?
No, not on a 29er, like, big bike either.
And so it's safe to say our portable airbag launch worked out pretty well. Or did it? As we started to gain confidence and ride harder, it started to get very sketchy. Eventually, we weighed down the center of the lip with a big rock, and that solved the problem. But I'll need to take this ramp apart and redesign it eventually. A total redesign would include a harder angle on the rear supports to keep the ramp from tipping, and a carriage bolt and wing nut solution for holding it all together. We'll do that another day, but I think it's safe to say that the concept works. Anyone with a pickup of any kind can transport this huge instant jump anywhere. I hope you enjoyed this build, and should you decide to build one of your own, I'd urge you not to follow my blueprint, save for maybe the radius part. I'm really stoked on finally doing a big backflip and taking a 360 on something this big as well. It's amazing how much you can progress when you have a huge cushion to land on. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.
Oh yeah!